Today marks International Cancer Survivors Day, a day dedicated to celebrate the strength and resilience of those who have overcome cancer. In 2018, females accounted for 51.3% of cancers diagnosed in the Republic, while males accounted for 48.6%. The median age at diagnosis of cancer was 59 years for females and 64 years for males. Early detection and treatment is emphasized as the best way to curb the peak of cancer-related deaths. We speak to a survivor about their journey today. We're joined by Johnston. For more on this, he is bringing awareness about prostate cancer. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Ian, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. I'm very well indeed. Thank you. Thanks very much for the invite. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for honoring our invite. And how are you feeling mentally, physically, spiritually?
Yeah, physically, physically I'm fine. Mentally, I suppose, I'm also, I work very hard at that. I think that people that have gone through a cancer, and I certainly went through it, but not to the degree a lot of people have. And so it's more, certainly it's more a mental battle than a physical one. A physical one, you go through a process. But the mental side is probably the hardest part for cancer patients. And as I say, there are many people out there that had a lot worse conditions than I had and continue to have. And it's a very, very tough battle from them from a mental point of view, as well as the physical side.
Sure. Where and when did it start for you?
2011. I used to go for regular checkups. Every year I went my checkups, and my PSA, which is prostate-specific antigen, which is an indication that you may have cancer, and doing a blood test. And my PSA levels were high, and then they would drop down a bit, and over a few years it was going up and down. Then it got to a stage where it was not coming down, it was going up. So, they put me on antibiotics initially, thought maybe it was an infection. But when it started to continue to rise, they said, well, we need to send you for a biopsy, which they did, and then they confirmed that obviously there was I did have prostate cancer.
What did you know about it before then?
Like most men, very little. You have these checkups and you don't really quite recognize what it means. Very few men, if you ask them what the function of the prostate is, they probably wouldn't be able to answer that. And the prostate produces fluids, which are nutritional fluids for the semen. So it's a very, very important part of men's sex organs. And but people, I certainly had no idea of what the implications of it were pre-diagnosis and certainly post-diagnosis, because they do a biopsy, you're identified as, yes, you do have prostate cancer. And then the next step is discussions about possible treatments. And even then, you're kind of really not medically au fait with what the implications are, what type of treatments there are, what the side effects could possibly of these different treatments. So it's a journey, and I'm happy to say that in the last 10 or 11 years, there's a lot more awareness, there's a lot more understanding than there was when I was diagnosed.
Sure. What did that do for you physically? I mean, we touched a little bit on the mental aspect, but we didn't get into it because you say yours wasn't like other people's journey. It wasn't as harsh. And so what did that look like for you?
Well, I had my prostate removed. There were various options, but given my particular circumstances, I had an enlarged prostate. To do the radiation on something like that, they felt that they wouldn't be as effective. So I made the decision to have my prostate removed. Whereas there are a number of treatments where you can still keep your prostate, but it depends entirely on the circumstances and your particular cancer as the time of being diagnosed.
Sure. Mentally, when the doctor says those words, I don't know what they say. Do they say, I'm sorry to tell you, but this is the situation? And then what goes on in your mind?
I think they try and let you down gently, and say, well, the tests were positive, which means you've got prostate cancer. You know, cancer is something that happens to other people until there's a knock on the door.
Yeah.
And they say, excuse me. And you say, no, you can't come in. Oh, I'm afraid I am coming in type thing. So it's that realization to say, wow, you know, you still don't know what it means. You don't know what the implications are, what the process are. You need to go through that. But it's very daunting, whether it's prostate cancer or any other forms of cancer. It's a huge wake-up call that you've got to try and kind of come to terms with. Your first reaction is, well, that's it, you know, I'm done. But of course, it's not the case. But when people don't go for checkups and they leave it until they've got very bad stage, what you call stage 2, stage 3, or stage 4 cancer, then it's a lot more serious. Because now the cancer has metastasized, which means it's moved outside of the prostate or the original area it started within the body, and it's moved to other parts of the body. And then it becomes a lot more difficult. The problem is more complicated, and the solutions are more complicated. So when you get to stage 4, then it becomes a battle, you know, physically and mentally. And it doesn't need to happen, and that's the reality. It doesn't need to happen. If you have your regular checkups and men realize the importance of your prostate and what it does, and without it, you're going to have challenges that you need to manage in other areas. And if it gets to stage 3 or stage 4, then you've got more of a battle on your hands.
What are some of the challenges that you speak of that you're going to have to manage?
Well, you know, when you have your prostate removed, particularly have prostate removed, you're going to have things like possibly like incontinence. You're going to have erectile dysfunction. All of those which can be managed. But when it gets to, as I say, the more severe stages, stage 4 cancers, then it becomes a lot more difficult. You know, you've got some really dramatic testosterone, for instance, is a fuel for cancer, for prostate cancer. So you've got to manage your testosterone. You either put people onto hormone therapies, or in the extreme situations, you have surgical castration in order to stop the testosterone. So those are extreme cases, but they do exist when people get to that unfortunate stage. And through awareness and education, men don't need to get to that stage. But unfortunately, they do, and then it's a very difficult situation to manage.
In closing down the conversation, what are you grateful for today?
Sorry?
What are you grateful for today?
You know, I have a gratitude list, which every single day I put something into it, because for me, I think you need to put things in the context. As I said earlier, there are a lot of people out there that, as we're chatting now, are lying in hospital, who are a lot worse off than I am. So I wake up in the morning and I see the sun shining, and for me that's a good start. You know, I do things like I swim, I do cold water immersions 3 times a week, and I sit in my swimming pool at 6 or 7 degrees, and I enjoy that feeling. I enjoy that opportunity that I can do these things. I swim a lot, I exercise, I keep fit where I can. And for me, that's just to be the little things in life that we take for granted. This opportunity, you know, I'm very grateful for that I can take these few minutes to say to people, for men, don't wait until it's too late. Go and take the test. Go and check your prostate, because it could literally save your life.
Ian, thank you very much for your time this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you
Greatly
very much.
Greatly appreciated. Ian Johnston is a cancer survivor.